When everything goes wrong and you're forced to defend your home, reliability isn't optional, it's survival. In tight hallways, dark rooms, and high-stress moments, few tools inspire confidence like a shotgun. While pistols and rifles dominate most self-defense conversations, the truth is simple. At close range, nothing delivers the same combination of power, control, and immediate stopping capability. A defensive shotgun doesn't rely on pinpoint accuracy or complex manipulation. It rewards simplicity, muscle memory, and raw effectiveness. Whether it's the unmistakable authority of a pump or the speed and recoil management of a modern semi-auto, shotguns excel where space is limited and decisions must be instant. In this guide, we're taking a hard look at the tactical shotguns built specifically for home defense. From battle-proven classics to innovative modern designs, we'll cover options that prioritize reliability, ergonomics, and real-world performance. No gimmicks, no range toys, just shotguns that are ready when it matters most. Kicking things off at number 15, the Panzer Arms BP-12 is a standout for anyone wanting a compact bullpup that's mag-fed and loaded with modern tactical flair, packing serious punch in an incredibly short package that's perfect for home defense or tight quarters work. This gas-operated semi-automatic shotgun runs on a self-regulating gas system that's designed specifically to tackle the common issues with bullpup designs, ensuring reliable cycling across a wide range of loads from light birdshot to heavy 3-inch Magnum buckshot without needing constant adjustments. It uses detachable box magazines, typically 5-rounders that come 2 in the box, but you can step up to 10-round mags or even larger drums for more firepower on tap, making reloads way faster and simpler than fumbling with a traditional tube in a high-stress situation. The barrel stretches to a full 20 inches, giving you excellent velocity and patterns downrange while keeping the overall length right around 30.7 inches, which makes it super maneuverable around corners or in hallways without feeling like you're swinging a broomstick. Weight comes in at about 8.5 to 9 pounds unloaded depending on the exact config, striking a nice balance where it's hefty enough to soak up recoil but light enough not to wear you out during longer sessions. Built with a tough 77.5 T6 aluminum upper receiver for durability and a reinforced polymer lower to shave weight, it feels solid in hand without being overbuilt. You've got a full-length Picatinny rail on top for slapping on any optic from red dots to scopes, plus M-lock slots on the handguard at multiple positions for lights, lasers, or whatever accessories you want to run. And it ships with flip-up polymer sights that are quick to acquire and adjustable. The controls are fully ambidextrous with AR-style ergonomics, including a reversible charging handle, mag release, and safety that feel familiar if you've ever run an AR platform, shortening that learning curve big time. There's an angled foregrip included for better control during rapid fire, and the stock has an adjustable cheek riser to get that perfect cheek weld no matter what optic you're using. Recoil is surprisingly tame for a 12-gauge bullpup, thanks to the gas system and a decent rubber butt pad, letting you stay on target for faster follow-ups. And the 3-inch chamber handles everything from 2.75-inch target loads to full-power slugs. Standout features include the unique bullpup layout that puts the action behind the trigger for that compact profile with long barrel ballistics, interchangeable chokes on many models for tuning patterns whether you're slinging buckshot or bird, and overall versatility that goes beyond just defense into sporting or even some light hunting. On the pro side, it's insanely fun to shoot with quick mag swaps that beat tube-fed guns hands down, super reliable once broken in with higher velocity ammo, highly customizable with all those rails, and that short length makes it a beast for room clearing without sacrificing power. Downsides are that the trigger can feel a bit heavy out of the box, around 8 to 11 pounds depending on the unit. It might need a short break-in period with hotter loads to run 100% smooth on lighter stuff. And being a bullpup means the ejection is closer to your face, so brass flies hot if you're not careful. Plus, the cheek weld takes a session or two to get used to. But honestly, for the current street price hovering right around $300 to $350, This thing is an absolute steal, delivering premium features and performance that punch way above its weight class, making it a budget-friendly beast that's reliable, functional, and just plain addictive at the range or ready to rock for serious home protection. If you're into modern shotgun designs that blend innovation with practicality, the Panzer Arms BP-12 should definitely be on your short list. Now, coming in at 14, the standard manufacturing DP-12 is one of those shotguns that completely changes the game with its wild double-barrel pump-action design, letting you fire 2 rounds before you even rack the slide again. One trigger pull blasts the right barrel, the next hits the left, then you pump to eject both spent shells and chamber 2 fresh ones all at once. This bullpup beauty keeps things super compact at just 29.5 inches overall, even with those twin 18.8 75-inch barrels side by side, making it perfect for maneuvering in tight spaces like hallways or around corners without feeling like you're swinging a broomstick. It tips the scales at about 9 pounds 12 ounces unloaded, which gives it a solid, planted feel that helps tame recoil, especially when you're dumping heavy 3-inch Magnum loads. And the rubber butt pad plus dual recoil springs in the stock soak up a lot of that kick, so follow-ups stay quick and on target. Capacity is straight up insane. Dual tube magazines hold 7 rounds each at 2.75-inch shells, for 14 in the tubes plus 2 in the chambers, totaling 16 rounds ready to go. Or you can drop to about 12 plus 2 with full 3-inch shells. And there are handy indicator windows on the tubes, so you can glance and see how much firepower you've got left. Loading is fast and intuitive through that big bottom port behind the pistol grips, perfect for quick top-offs under stress. And since it ejects downward just like classics such as the Ithaca 37, shells drop straight out the bottom without ever crossing your face or messing with your sight picture, which makes it truly ambidextrous along with the wraparound slide release and bilateral safety that work flawlessly for lefties or righties. The standout tech here is that inline feeding system, where each tube feeds its own dedicated barrel, combined with dual operating bars for smooth, reliable pumping every time. And the barrels come threaded for true choke pattern, with spreader chokes installed that throw devastating wide patterns ideal for close-range defense. Think room-clearing walls of buckshot. Up top, there's a long 13.75-inch Picatinny rail begging for a red dot or irons. And the forearm has a 7-slot bottom rail with a vertical grip included plus more slots for lights, lasers, or whatever accessories you want to hang off it. The receiver is machined from tough 7075 aluminum with a thermal coat for durability. And the whole thing feels built like a tank in Standard Manufacturing's USA facility. On the plus side, you get unmatched firepower in a short package, rock-solid reliability from the pump action that eats any ammo you feed it without gas system fuss, and that intimidating look that screams serious business while being surprisingly balanced for fast handling. Downsides are, it's on the heavy side when fully loaded, which can tire you out during long sessions. Recoil still bites with hot loads despite the mitigation. And the trigger is pretty heavy at around 11-12 pounds since it's a bullpup. Plus you have to remember to fire both shots before pumping or you'll short stroke it. Right now, you're looking at street prices hovering around $1,100 to $1,300, depending on the dealer and config, with MSRP closer to $1,500 for the Gen 2 models that have a lighter polymer aluminum frame and refined barrel contours. If you've got 16 rounds of 0.0 buck on tap and need to stop a threat fast, good luck to whatever's on the receiving end, because after that barrage you'd probably be calling for air support anyway. Not another reload. Both right-handed and left-handed shooters love how intuitive it runs once you get the rhythm down. No hot brass in the face. Just pure ambidextrous mayhem in a package that's as fun on the range as it is formidable for home defense. Coming in at lucky number 13, the Mossberg 940 Pro Tactical SPX is hands down one of the most refined semi-auto tactical shotguns out there right now, constantly evolving into a true fighting machine that's built for serious home defense or duty use. This thing tips the scales at around 7.25 to 7.5 pounds unloaded. with an overall length of about 37 inches, making it maneuverable in tight spaces without feeling too stubby. And that 18.5-inch barrel keeps it legal as a standard shotgun while being perfect for close quarters work. At its heart is Mossberg's redesigned gas-operated system that's famous for running cleaner than most, thanks to those vented ports that bleed off excess fouling, meaning you can push once as 500 rounds or more between deep cleans while it stays reliable and smooth. Key internals like the gas piston, magazine tube, hammer, and sear. Get a tough nickel boron coating for corrosion resistance and slick operation, even in nasty conditions. Standout features include a direct optic-ready receiver with an RMSC footprint cut for low-profile red dots like shield or hollow sun patterns. Plus it's drilled and tapped for traditional mounts. Fiber optic ghost ring sights with a protected front post for quick acquisition. An oversized ergonomic bolt release. Knurled extended charging handle that's easy to rip back under stress. A massively beveled and enlarged loading port with a pinch-free elongated elevator and bright orange anodized follower to make quad loading or topping off feel effortless. The extended tube gives you a solid 7C+1 capacity with 2.75-inch shells or 6+1 with 3-inch magnums. And it comes threaded for AccuChoke tubes starting with a cylinder bore for wide buckshot patterns up close, though you can swap in others for versatility. The synthetic stock is fully adjustable. Length of pull runs from 12.5 to 14.25 inches with included spacers, and shims let you tweak drop at comb and cast for a perfect fit no matter your build. Plus, it's self-draining with aggressive Mossberg texturing on the grip and a rear swivel stud for slings. Up front, the forend is a game changer with an integrated heat shield that wraps over the barrel to keep your hand cool during high-volume shooting. Slim profile for better control. M-lock slots at 3, 6, and 9 o'clock on the barrel clamp for lights, lasers, or whatever, and QD swivel points built in. Many models even include a Vangkamp-style 6-round shot shell carrier that velcros on the receiver for quick reloads, turning your onboard ammo into a serious payload. Recoil is noticeably tamed for a 12-gauge thanks to the gas system, and a thick rubber butt pad, letting you stay on target for fast follow-ups, and the whole package feels balanced and pointable. On the pros side, it's insanely reliable across light target loads to heavy buck or slugs. Super user-friendly with those oversized controls ideal for gloved hands or adrenaline dumps. Highly customizable out of the box, and that cleaner gas setup means less downtime maintaining it compared to older designs. Downsides are minor. It's still a 12-gauge, so recoil can add up for recoil-sensitive shooters without adding a better pad. The plastic furniture feels durable, but not ultra-premium, and while it's optic-ready, irons are solid, but some folks swap immediately for a dot. Right now, street prices hover around $800 to $900, depending on the exact config like Cerakote finishes or Holosun combos, with MSRP pushing up to about $1,200, making it a killer value in the tactical semi-auto world. If you're looking for a do-it-all defender that's fast, reliable, and loaded with modern touches, grab one of these and hit the range. You'll be hooked on how effortlessly it runs and how confident it makes you feel. Coming in at number 12, the Benelli M2 Tactical is another reliable inertia-driven option that's lighter and often quicker on follow-ups compared to many gas-operated guns out there. This thing has been a staple in the Benelli lineup for years, building on that legendary reputation for running clean and flawless without needing constant tweaks or heavy maintenance, no matter if you're slinging light target loads or heavy 3-inch magnums. At its core is Benelli's proven inertia-driven system. A simple yet genius design where the bolt stays stationary for a split second during recoil, compressing a beefy spring that then snaps back to cycle the action smoothly and reliably, keeping the gun cleaner longer since there's no gas fouling the internals, like on other semis. That makes it a low-maintenance beast. Perfect for folks who want something they can grab and go without worrying about carbon buildup gumming things up. The standard tactical model rocks an 18.5-inch barrel for superb maneuverability in the tight spaces like hallways or rooms, with an overall length right around 39.75 inches, making it easy to swing around without feeling clumsy. Unloaded, it tips the scales at about 6.7 pounds, which is noticeably lighter than a lot of gas guns, helping reduce fatigue during longer sessions, or when you're holding it ready for extended periods. Capacity comes in at 5+1 with the standard tube, though you can easily extend that if you want more on board, without much hassle. Sights are a big highlight here. You get rugged ghost ring rear with adjustable options paired with a protected front post, or some configs go for open rifle style. And the receiver is drilled and tapped with a short Picatinny rail up top for slapping on a red dot, or whatever optic suits your setup. One of the standout features has to be the Comfortech stock, Benelli's gel-filled chevron design that absorbs and disperses recoil energy like magic, cutting felt kick by up to 48% in some tests, letting you stay on target faster for quicker follow-ups and less muzzle rise, especially with hot buckshot or slugs. The rubber pad conforms to your shoulder, and the whole stock has that air touch checkering for a secure grip even in wet conditions. Controls are oversized where it counts, like the bolt release and safety, making them easy to hit with gloves on or under stress, though the charging handle is on the smaller side stock, something a lot of folks upgrade for faster racking. The cryo-treated barrel and choke system tightens patterns for better downrange performance, and it's chambered for 3-inch shells, giving you versatility from low recoil training ammo to full power defensive loads. On the plus side, this shotgun is insanely reliable in the harsh conditions. Super lightweight for fast handling, cycles everything without adjustment, and that recoil reduction makes it comfortable even during high volume shooting, earning it fans from home defenders to competitive shooters. Downsides include the loading port being a bit thumb-pinching on aggressive reloads without mods, no M-lock, or extensive rail stock for accessories. And it's not as soft shooting with the lightest loads, since inertia needs some recoil impulse to cycle reliably. Unique design touches like the rotary bolt head, locking directly into the barrel extension, keep stresses off the aluminum receiver for longevity. And the whole package just feels balanced and pointable, swinging naturally in close quarters. Right now, you're looking at around $1,400 for a new one, sometimes dipping lower on sales, but it's that premium Italian build quality that justifies the tag for a lot of serious users who want top-tier performance without the bulk or complexity of gas systems. If speed, low weight, and unbreakable reliability are your priorities for home defense or multi-gun, the M2 Tactical should definitely be on your shortlist. It's a classic that still holds up strong today. Number 11 is the GForce 12. Hammer is one of those shotguns that immediately feels familiar if you've ever spent time behind an AR, but it still delivers that unmistakable 12-gauge authority that makes shotguns such a strong choice for home defense. This is a gas-operated, magazine-fed shotgun built around a buffer tube system, which helps smooth out cycling and keeps recoil more manageable compared to some of the harsher, budget semi-autos out there. Most configurations run a 20-inch barrel with a 3-inch chamber, giving you the flexibility to shoot everything from light target loads to heavier buckshot and slugs, while the overall length lands right around 38 to 39 inches depending on the stock setup. Unloaded weight is typically in the 8 to 9 pound range, so it has enough mass to soak up recoil without feeling like an anchor when you're moving through tight spaces. The detachable box magazine usually holds 5 rounds, and you get an extra mag in the box, which is a big plus at this price point, especially for anyone who prefers faster reloads over topping off a traditional tube under stress. Controls are laid out in a very AR-like way, with a right-side charging handle that reciprocates with the bolt, a familiar safety location, and a general manual of arms that feels intuitive if you already run modern rifles. Up top, there's a full-length Picatinny rail that makes mounting a red dot simple, and the shotgun ships with flip-up polymer sights that are usable out of the box, though most people will want glass on it sooner rather than later. The extended forend is slim but rigid, covered in M-lock slots, so adding a weapon light or hand stop is easy, and it gives you plenty of real estate to control the gun during rapid fire. The fixed stock rides on the buffer tube and wears a thick rubber recoil pad that does a solid job keeping the gun comfortable during longer range sessions, even with hotter loads. One of the more underrated features is the included set of 5 choke tubes, which adds real versatility and lets the 12 hammer pull double duty for hunting or clay shooting instead of being locked into a pure defensive role. In terms of reliability, the gas system and buffer setup help it run smoothly once it's broken in, though like many budget semi-autos, it tends to prefer full power loads early on before it loosens up. The strengths here are obvious: affordable entry price, modern ergonomics, fast reloads with detachable magazines, and a feature set that usually costs a lot more. The downsides are just as real, including a somewhat utilitarian trigger feel, a charging handle that can surprise new shooters since it moves with the bolt, and overall fit and finish that's good for the money, but not premium. Still, when you look at current street prices hovering around $300, it's hard not to appreciate how much value is packed into this platform. For anyone who likes the AR feel, wants a semi-auto 12 gauge for home defense, and doesn't want to spend 4 figures to get there, the GForce 12 hammer makes a strong case as a practical, flexible, and surprisingly capable shotgun that punches well above its price tag. Holding down the number 10 spot, Remington 870 Tactical is one of those shotguns that feels less like a product and more like a benchmark, because for decades it has set the standard for what a defensive pump action should be. Built around a milled steel receiver with dual action bars, the 870's design prioritizes strength and smoothness, and that twin bar system is a big reason it has earned a reputation for feeding and cycling without drama, even when things get dirty or neglected. In the tactical configuration, you're typically looking at an 18.5-inch cylinder bore barrel that keeps patterns wide and forgiving at close range, exactly where a home defense shotgun lives, while the overall length lands around 38 to 39 inches depending on the stock, making it short enough to maneuver in hallways without feeling cramped or awkward. Unloaded weight sits in the neighborhood of 7 to 7.5 pounds, which gives it enough mass to soak up recoil without turning it into an anchor if you have to hold it at the ready for a while. Capacity is usually 6 rounds in the extended magazine tube, plus 1 in the chamber with standard 2 3/4-inch shells, and the tube-fed layout means you can top it off at any time, instead of being locked into fixed reload points. The controls are refreshingly simple, with a crossbolt safety behind the trigger guard and a familiar slide release that becomes second nature with a little practice. And that simplicity is a huge part of why so many law enforcement agencies trusted this platform for decades. The barrel and receiver are typically drilled and tapped or easily adaptable for ghost ring sights, optics rails, weapon lights, or side saddle shell carriers. And the aftermarket support for the 870 is almost endless, letting you swap stocks, forends, recoil pads, and internal parts to tailor the gun exactly to how you want it to feel. From a technology standpoint, there is nothing flashy here, and that is the point, because a pump action does not care about load pressure or gas systems. It just works as long as you run it with authority. Recoil is very manageable with a quality rubber butt pad, and the straight back push of a pump shotgun tends to feel predictable and controllable, especially for shooters who train regularly. On the upside, you get legendary reliability, the ability to run virtually any ammunition from light birdshot to full-power buckshot and slugs, simple maintenance, and a platform that has proven itself in real-world defensive use for generations. On the downside, pumping under stress does require training to avoid short stroking. Reloads are slower than detachable magazine shotguns, and the factory trigger is serviceable rather than impressive. But none of those issues are deal breakers for a design built around dependability. The overall profile is slim, the balance is neutral, and the gun shoulders naturally, which is why it feels so intuitive even to people who have never run one before. Street prices today usually hover right around $450 to $500, depending on configuration and availability, making it one of the best values in defensive firearms when you consider how much proven performance you are getting for the money. If you want a home defense shotgun that is straightforward, endlessly customizable, and backed by decades of real-world trust, the Remington 870 Tactical remains a classic choice that refuses to fade away. At number 9, Stoeger M3000. Freedom is one of those shotguns that quietly earns respect the more time you spend behind it. And it's a perfect example of why simple, proven designs still matter for home defense. At first glance, it doesn't scream tactical hype, but once you understand what it's built around, it starts to make a lot of sense. The M3000 Freedom is a semi-automatic 12-gauge running Stoeger's inertia-driven operating system, a rotating bolt design that uses recoil energy instead of gas to cycle the action. That means fewer internal parts getting dirty, less carbon buildup, and a shotgun that keeps running even when maintenance isn't perfect. For a defensive setup, that kind of mechanical simplicity is a huge advantage. The Freedom configuration comes with an 18.5-inch barrel, which is right in the sweet spot for close quarters work. Short enough to move easily through hallways and doorways, but still long enough to pattern buckshot well and maintain good velocity. Overall length sits at roughly 40 inches, giving it a familiar, balanced feel rather than the ultra-compact sensation of a bullpup. Unloaded weight is right around 7 pounds, which makes it light enough to handle quickly without feeling flimsy. And that lighter weight also helps reduce fatigue if you're holding the gun at the ready for extended periods. The magazine tube holds 5 rounds of 2.75-inch shells, plus 1 in the chamber, which isn't massive capacity, but for a semi-auto that prioritizes reliability and simplicity, it's a practical and realistic loadout. The barrel is fixed cylinder bore, so you're not swapping chokes depending on ammo, and while that limits versatility for hunting or clay shooting, it actually works in favor of defensive use by delivering wide, consistent patterns with buckshot at typical indoor distances. The inertia system really shines here because it cycles fast and clean. And as long as you're running standard or defensive loads with enough recoil impulse, it's extremely dependable. Recoil itself feels sharp but manageable, especially compared to some gas guns that feel softer but carry more weight and complexity. The synthetic stock keeps things durable and weather-resistant, with a length of pull that fits most shooters out of the box, and the controls are straightforward and familiar, including a cross-bolt safety and a bolt release that's easy to reach under stress. Sights are simple bead setups on most Freedom models, which some people will want to upgrade, but for close-range defense, they're fast and intuitive, especially in low light when paired with a weapon-mounted light. One of the biggest strengths of the M3000 Freedom is how much performance you're getting for the money. Street prices usually land right around $500, sometimes less, which puts it far below premium semi-autos, while still delivering a reliable inertia-driven system, similar in concept to much more expensive Italian designs. On the downside, it doesn't have an enlarged loading port, oversized controls, or factory optics mounting, so it's not as modern out of the box as some newer tactical shotguns. And lighter target loads can occasionally be hit or miss until the gun is fully broken in. Still, those trade-offs are easy to accept when you look at the overall package. The Stoeger M3000 Freedom is a no-nonsense defensive shotgun that focuses on doing the basics right, running clean, cycling reliably, and staying affordable, making it an excellent choice for anyone who wants semi-auto performance for home defense without paying premium prices or dealing with overly complex systems. Number 8 on the list, Smith & Wesson M&P 12 made a serious splash the moment it hit the scene, because it was clear this was not a novelty bullpup, but a purpose-built defensive shotgun designed by a company that understands duty weapons. Right from the start, the layout tells you what it is about. A pump-action bullpup with dual magazine tubes that give you 14+1 capacity with 2 3/4-inch shells, or 12+1 with 3-inch loads. And for home defense, that kind of onboard ammo changes the entire conversation. The overall length sits right around 27.8 inches, which is shockingly compact for a 12-gauge that still runs an 18.5-inch barrel, making it extremely easy to maneuver through tight hallways, door frames, and stairwells without constantly worrying about muzzle management. Unloaded weight comes in at roughly 8 pounds, so it feels solid and controllable without being excessively heavy, especially once you factor in how the mass is centered close to the body thanks to the bullpup layout. One of the most distinctive features is the dual pistol grip setup, with both grips modeled after Smith & Wesson M&P handgun line, complete with interchangeable back straps that let you tailor the grip angle and size to your hands, which is something almost unheard of in the shotgun world. Controls are fully ambidextrous and very AR-inspired, with mirrored safeties, an easily accessible action release, and downward ejection that keeps spent shells away from your face regardless of whether you shoot left or right-handed. The pump stroke itself is short and smooth, feeding from either tube via a selector system that allows you to switch between tubes depending on how you have them loaded, giving you real flexibility if you want buckshot in one tube and slugs in the other. Smith & Wesson also integrated a push-button load and unload system that lets you safely clear the gun without cycling live rounds through the chamber, which is a thoughtful touch for a defensive firearm that may be staged or stored loaded. The barrel is threaded for rem choke pattern tubes, so you can tune your pattern depending on ammo choice. And up top, there is a full-length Picatinny rail that makes mounting a red dot feel natural and almost mandatory on a gun this compact. Along the forend and sides, you get LO case slots for lights and accessories, which is essential for a home defense shotgun where target identification matters just as much as stopping power. There is also a loaded chamber indicator built into the design, giving you both visual and tactile confirmation of the gun's status in low light or stressful situations. From a performance standpoint, reliability is exactly what you would expect from a pump. It will run light target loads, heavy buckshot, and full power slugs without complaint. And recoil is very manageable due to the straight back impulse and thick recoil pad. The downside, and it is worth being honest about it, is that reloading under pressure can be slower and more complex than a traditional tube-fed shotgun if you are not well practiced. And the polymer-heavy construction, while durable, makes the price tag feel a little harder to swallow. Street prices usually hover right around $900 to $1,000, which puts it firmly in premium territory for a pump action. But you are paying for innovation, compactness, and a feature set that no other pump shotgun really matches. Once you spend time behind it, the M&P 12 starts to make a lot of sense, offering massive capacity, excellent ergonomics, and true ambidextrous usability in a package that feels purpose-built for defending a home when space is limited and mistakes are not an option. Coming in at number 7, Langdon Tactical 13001 Blackout has quickly become one of the most talked about defensive shotguns among serious home defense shooters, professional trainers, and people who actually run their gear hard instead of just admiring it. Built on the proven Beretta 1301 Mod 2 platform, this shotgun takes an already fast and reliable gas-operated system and refines it into a purpose-built fighting tool. At its core is Beretta's Blink gas system, known for extremely fast cycling and excellent reliability across a wide range of loads, allowing rapid follow-up shots while keeping recoil manageable for a 12-gauge. The 18.5-inch barrel strikes a perfect balance between maneuverability and ballistic performance, while the overall length lands around 37 inches depending on stock configuration, making it comfortable to run through hallways and doorways without feeling oversized. Unloaded weight sits roughly around 7 pounds, which keeps it light enough to stay on target without sacrificing control. Langdon Tactical's trigger work immediately stands out, offering a cleaner break and more consistent feel compared to the standard factory trigger, which pays off when you're shooting under stress. The Magpul stock brings modern ergonomics with adjustable length of pull and a solid cheek weld, allowing the gun to fit a wide range of shooters and armor setups without awkward compromises. One of the most distinctive upgrades is the Super Duty sight system, paired with the fastback optic mount, positioning the optic low and tight to the receiver for a natural sight picture that feels intuitive the moment you shoulder the gun. From the factory, it comes equipped with a Holosun 509 T-enclosed red dot, providing durability, excellent battery life, and fast target acquisition in low light conditions. For illumination, the Streamlight Pro Tac HLOX with pressure switch is already integrated, giving you a powerful white light solution without the hassle of aftermarket mounting guesswork. The Beretta forend is upgraded with a heat shield that not only protects your support hand during extended shooting, but also includes smart cable management, keeping the light wire tucked in, clean and snag-free. The extended tube magazine offers a 7+1 capacity with standard shells, giving you plenty of onboard ammunition for defensive scenarios. And while it remains tube-fed, adding a side saddle or soft carrier is simple if you want faster reloads at hand. Controls are oversized where it matters, with a large bolt release and charging handle that are easy to manipulate with gloves or sweaty hands, reinforcing the gun's duty-grade mindset. The design philosophy here avoids flashy excess and focuses instead on reliability, speed, and shooter confidence, which is why this setup resonates so strongly with experienced users. On the downside, the premium components and turnkey configuration push the price higher than a standard Langdon 1, with current street prices commonly landing in the $1,800 to $2,000 range depending on availability. But what you're paying for is a shotgun that arrives fully optimized. Rather than a base model, you'll end up upgrading piece by piece. Recoil is well managed, but it's still a 12 gauge, and smaller shooters may want extra range time to fully exploit its speed. Still, the Langdon Tactical 1301 Blackout feels less like a collection of accessories and more like a cohesive system. A shotgun that's been thought through from muzzle to butt pad, ready to be trusted straight out of the box when home defense stops being theoretical and becomes real. Jumping into number 6, Benelli M4 starts this conversation as the benchmark that every serious defensive semi-auto shotgun still gets measured against. Not because it is flashy, but because it has earned its reputation the hard way through real-world use and decades of refinement. This is a 12 gauge built around Benelli's Argo operating system, a short-stroke dual-piston setup mounted directly to the barrel that uses gas only long enough to cycle the action, keeping fouling out of the receiver and maintaining consistent reliability even when the gun is filthy, dry, or running mixed ammunition. That system is the heart of why the M4 runs everything from light training loads to full-power buckshot and slugs without adjustment, and why militaries around the world adopted it for duty use. The standard defensive configuration uses an 18.5-inch barrel with a fixed-cylinder bore paired with a full-length magazine tube that gives you a 5+1 capacity out of the box, and many owners choose to upgrade to a 7-round tube where legal. Overall length sits right around 40 inches depending on stock choice, and unloaded weight is roughly 7.8 pounds, which sounds heavy on paper, but balances extremely well once you shoulder it. The receiver is aluminum to save weight, while stress-bearing components like the bolt headlock directly into a steel barrel extension, keeping the system strong without unnecessary bulk. Sighting is classic and effective, with fully adjustable ghost ring rear sights, a protected front post, and a factory Picatinny rail that makes mounting a red dot simple and secure. Some models ship with a collapsible stock that allows you to fine-tune length of pull for armor or different shooters, while others use a fixed pistol grip stock that still offers excellent control during rapid fire and transitions. Recoil management is one of the most underrated strengths here, as the Argo system and inline stock geometry keep muzzle rise predictable and let you stay on target for fast follow-up shots, even with heavier loads. Ergonomics are straightforward and purposeful, with oversized controls where it matters, a cross-bolt safety that is positive and tactile, and a charging handle that is easy to grab under stress, though many shooters still opt for an aftermarket enlarged handle. The M4 is not perfect, and it is fair to talk about that honestly. It is expensive, with current street prices hovering around $1,800 to $2,000 depending on configuration, and accessories and spare parts are not cheap either. It is also heavier than some modern competitors, and the loading port is not as aggressively beveled as newer tactical shotguns unless you modify it. But what you get in return is a platform that almost never surprises you in a bad way. It does not need tuning, it does not care about weather, and it does not lose reliability as round counts climb. The fit and finish feel purposeful rather than delicate. The action has a solid mechanical confidence to it, and every control feels like it was designed to be used with gloves, adrenaline, and limited fine motor skills. This is not a range toy, and it is not trying to be trendy. The Benelli M4 is a serious defensive shotgun built to be grabbed in the worst moments and trusted without hesitation. And that is exactly why, years later, it still sits at the top of the list for people who value absolute reliability over everything else. Sliding further down the list, number 5, the Palmetto State Armory. PSA 570 pump action is one of those shotguns that quietly makes a lot of sense the more time you spend around it, especially if you appreciate modular design and practical thinking over flashy gimmicks. Right from the start, PSA built the 570 around the idea that a defensive shotgun should be easy to live with, easy to modify, and easy to maintain using basic tools instead of a gunsmith. At its core, it's a pump-action 12-gauge with a steel receiver and dual action bars for smooth, bind-free cycling, staying true to the proven formula that's kept pump guns relevant for decades. Overall length varies depending on configuration, but most defensive setups land around 38 to 40 inches with an 18.5-inch barrel, striking a balance between maneuverability indoors and solid ballistic performance. Unloaded weight sits roughly in the 7 to 7.5 pound range, light enough to handle comfortably, but with enough mass to manage recoil during rapid strings of fire. One of the standout features is the rear tang safety, a classic layout that feels natural for both right-handed and left-handed shooters and avoids the awkward reach issues found on some crossbolt designs. The action release is positioned right by the trigger guard, making it fast and intuitive to unlock the pump under stress without shifting your grip. PSA also machines the receiver with a cut that allows mounting pistol-style optics, giving you the option to run a compact red dot without bulky aftermarket rails, which is a big plus for modern home defense setups. The loading gate is nicely beveled and polished, reducing the chance of snagging your thumb during reloads and making topping off the tube smoother, especially when adrenaline is high. One of the most interesting engineering choices is how the magazine tube and barrel interface with the receiver. Using a proprietary wrench and a clever sliding spacer system, you can quickly swap barrels or magazine tubes while maintaining proper fit and function, which opens the door to running shorter defensive barrels or longer configurations without buying a whole new shotgun. While the PSA 570 is compatible with many Remington 870 pattern stocks, forends, and accessories, it's not a straight clone, and that's a good thing. PSA refined internal geometry and tolerances, keeping the familiar feel people love while modernizing the system for better consistency and future upgrades. The forend travel is smooth and positive, with a solid lockup that gives you confidence every time you rack it, and the pump stroke feels deliberate rather than sloppy. In terms of recoil, it behaves like you'd expect from a lightweight pump-action 12-gauge, firm but manageable, especially if you add a quality recoil pad or upgraded stock, both of which are easy thanks to the massive aftermarket support. The shotgun feeds and ejects reliably across a wide range of loads, from low recoil buckshot to full power defensive shells, which is exactly what you want in a home protection role. PSA backs the platform with their own growing lineup of accessories, including upgraded furniture, extended magazine tubes, and mounting solutions for lights and slings, letting you tailor the gun to your exact needs without guesswork. On the downside, it doesn't reinvent the pump action experience. So, if you're looking for ultra-soft recoil or blazing fast split times, a semi-auto might still appeal more, and the base configuration is fairly plain out of the box. But that simplicity is also its strength. Current street prices usually land around $400 to $500, depending on configuration, making it a very accessible option that delivers real-world performance without draining your budget. The PSA 570 is best viewed as a foundation, a rugged, modular pump shotgun that respects tradition while quietly fixing small annoyances. And for shooters who want something dependable, customizable, and familiar for home defense, it's a smart, underrated choice that deserves more attention. Sliding into this ranking number 4, Kel-Tec KS7 is one of those shotguns that instantly grabs your attention because it throws traditional design out the window and focuses entirely on compact efficiency. And for home defense, that mindset makes a lot of sense. Built as a bullpup pump action, the KS7 manages to squeeze a full 18.5-inch barrel into an overall length of just over 26 inches, making it one of the shortest non-NFA shotguns you can legally own. And when you pick it up, the first thing you notice is how shockingly light it feels at just under 6 pounds unloaded. That low weight and short length make it incredibly easy to maneuver in hallways, stairwells, and tight rooms, where a full-size shotgun can feel clumsy and slow. The single magazine tube runs straight under the barrel and holds 7 standard 2 3/4-inch shells, plus 1 in the chamber, giving you a respectable 8 rounds on tap, without the added complexity of dual tubes or detachable magazines. The pump stroke is short and stiff at first, but smooths out with use, and the compact fore-end keeps your support hand close to your body, which helps with control during rapid cycling. Kel-Tec went with bottom ejection, so spent shells drop straight down instead of flying past your face, making the KS7 fully ambidextrous and especially friendly for left-handed shooters. Controls are simple and chunky, with an ambi action release, a large block-style safety that's easy to feel under stress, and a layout that prioritizes function over refinement. The most distinctive feature is that oversized carry handle running along the top, which isn't just for looks. It houses a simple but effective sighting system with a bright green triangle front that naturally draws your eye for fast target acquisition at close range, and it also doubles as a mounting point for optics or accessories if you want to modernize the setup. Recoil is definitely more noticeable than on heavier shotguns or gas-operated semis, mostly due to the lightweight and bullpup balance. But with proper technique, it stays controllable and predictable. Reliability is one of the KS7's strongest points, since the pump action design will run pretty much anything you feed it, from light target loads to full-power buckshot and slugs, without worrying about gas tuning or cycling issues. On the downside, the trigger is heavy and mushy, which is common for bullpup designs, and the polymer-heavy construction feels utilitarian rather than premium. But it keeps weight down and holds up well in real-world use. There's limited onboard capacity compared to dual-tube bullpups, and reloading under pressure takes practice since everything happens behind the grip. But the simplicity also means fewer things to think about when adrenaline hits. Unique engineering choices like the centralized mass and straight-line recoil help the KS7 stay surprisingly flat during recoil, and the overall balance makes it feel faster than the scale suggests. Current street prices usually land around $500 depending on availability, which puts it in a sweet spot for shooters who want something compact, reliable, and different without spending premium money. It may look unconventional, but the Kel-Tec KS7 proves that when it comes to home defense, smart design and practical performance matter more than tradition, and once you run it for a while, that strange little bullpup starts to make a whole lot of sense. Landing solidly in this slot number 3, Savage Renegauge Security is one of those shotguns that doesn't scream for attention at first glance, but the more time you spend with it, the more it earns your respect, especially if home defense reliability is high on your priority list. Built as a semi-automatic 12-gauge with a gas-operated action, the Renegauge uses Savage's dual regulating valve system, which automatically adjusts gas flow based on the load you're shooting, allowing it to run everything from lighter training shells to full-power defensive buckshot without needing manual tuning. That system also keeps recoil smooth and predictable, making follow-up shots faster and more controllable than you might expect from a gun that looks this rugged. The security model typically comes with an 18.5-inch barrel that's chrome-lined for durability and corrosion resistance, paired with a 3-inch chamber for maximum ammo flexibility, while the overall length lands around 38 inches, giving it a balanced feel that's easy to manage in tight spaces without feeling overly compact or awkward. Unloaded weight sits roughly in the 7.3 to 7.6 pound range depending on configuration, which helps soak up recoil while still being light enough to hold on target during longer ready positions. One of the standout features is the stock system, which is fully adjustable using included spacers to dial in length of pull, along with interchangeable cheek risers to fine-tune comb height letting you set the gun up properly whether you're running iron sights or planning to add an optic later. From the factory, it ships with sturdy ghost ring sights that are fast to pick up in low light and rugged enough to take abuse, with a protected front post that doesn't feel flimsy or decorative. The receiver itself is machined from aluminum with a hard anodized finish, giving it a solid, squared-off look that matches Savage's no-nonsense design language. And while it doesn't include a top rail out of the box, it's drilled and tapped, so adding one is straightforward if you want to mount a red dot for faster target acquisition. The loading port is generously sized and beveled, which makes topping off the tube under stress far easier than on older semi-autos. And the shell lifter design does a good job of minimizing thumb bite, something anyone who trains seriously will appreciate. Magazine capacity is typically 5+1 with 2 3/4-inch shells, depending on local configurations. And while that might not sound huge on paper, the speed and consistency of the action make it very effective in real-world defensive use. Ergonomics are simple and familiar, with a cross-bolt safety positioned at the trigger guard, controls that are easy to reach without shifting your grip, and a forend that offers solid traction without being overly aggressive. The overall shooting experience feels controlled and confident, with the gas system bleeding off excess energy, so recoil comes straight back instead of snapping upward, which keeps the sights flatter during rapid strings. On the plus side, you get excellent reliability, a soft-shooting semi-auto system, strong build quality, and a stock that actually fits real shooters instead of forcing you to adapt to the gun. On the downside, it's not the lightest shotgun in its class. It doesn't come optics ready from the factory, and the aesthetic is more utilitarian than flashy, which may or may not matter to you. Price-wise, the Savage Renegauge Security usually lands in the mid-$600 to low $800 range depending on availability, making it a strong value for a modern defensive semi-auto that's built to run hard. It feels like a shotgun designed by people who actually shoot, not just engineers chasing trends, and for anyone who wants a dependable, adjustable, and straightforward home defense option that doesn't rely on gimmicks, the Renegauge Security quietly stands as one of the most underrated choices out there. Landing at number 2, Beretta A300 Ultima Patrol, is Beretta clearly saying they're done playing it safe and are fully leaning into the modern defensive shotgun space. And this chisel machining collaboration takes an already proven platform and turns it into something that feels purpose-built for serious home defense and duty use. At its core, this shotgun is built on the long-standing A300 gas-operated system, a design known for reliability, soft recoil, and the ability to run a wide range of loads without drama. The heart of the gun is a 19.1-inch chrome-lined barrel with a 3-inch chamber, giving you the flexibility to run standard defensive buckshot, reduced recoil loads, or heavier magnums while keeping patterns consistent thanks to the interchangeable choke system. Overall length lands right around 37 inches depending on stock configuration, striking a balance between compact handling indoors and enough barrel to maintain velocity and control. Unloaded weight sits in the neighborhood of 7.5 pounds, which keeps it light enough to move quickly through hallways, but heavy enough to absorb recoil and stay flat during fast follow-up shots. One of the biggest visual and functional changes is the chisel machining wireframe stock, which replaces the traditional synthetic setup with something lighter, more adjustable, and surprisingly comfortable thanks to the padded butt section that keeps recoil from getting punishing during longer training sessions. Length of pull can be tuned to fit different shooters or gear setups, making it easier to square up behind the gun in confined spaces. Up top, the cantilever-mounted Picatinny base is a standout feature because it places your red dot or prism optic directly over the receiver in a natural eye line, keeping your head upright and your sight picture fast, which matters a lot in low-light defensive scenarios. The aluminum receiver is clean and robust, housing Beretta's fast-cycling gas system that vents excess gas efficiently to keep the action running smooth and cleaner over time compared to older designs. Feeding is handled by a full-length magazine tube that holds 7 rounds of 2.75-inch shells, giving you 7+1 on tap without needing extensions, And the tube is capped with a polymer sleeve that protects threads and keeps everything streamlined. The forend is slim and aggressively textured, offering excellent grip even with sweaty hands. And it integrates M-lock slots at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions. So adding a weapon light or other accessories doesn't turn the gun into a bulky mess. Controls are oversized where it counts, including the charging handle and bolt release, making them easy to manipulate under stress or with gloves, while the safety remains intuitive and positive. Recoil management is one of the A300's strongest points, as the gas system and stock geometry work together to keep muzzle rise minimal, allowing for faster second and third shots compared to many pump guns. On the upside, you're getting a shotgun that's reliable, soft shooting, modern, and ready for optics and accessories right out of the box, with a design that feels current rather than dated. Downsides are relatively minor, but worth noting, like the wireframe stock not appealing to traditionalists and the price creeping higher than basic A300 models. Street prices currently hover around $1,500 depending on configuration, which puts it above entry-level options but still well below top-tier combat shotguns, making it a strong value for shooters who want a refined, modern semi-auto that's genuinely set up for defensive use without needing a pile of aftermarket upgrades. Holding the number 1 spot, Kel-Tec KSG is the shotgun that really lit the fuse on the modern bullpup craze. And even years after its release, it still feels purpose-built for tight, high-stress defensive work, where size and capacity matter more than comfort or tradition. The first thing you notice is just how short it is, with an overall length of about 26 inches while still running an 18.5-inch barrel, which makes it incredibly easy to move through hallways, door frames, and tight rooms, without the muzzle constantly bumping into walls or furniture. That compact layout comes from the bullpup design, placing the action and dual magazine tubes behind the trigger group, keeping the weight close to your body and making the gun feel shorter than it already is. Those twin-tube magazines are the KSG's signature feature, giving you a massive 15+1 capacity with 2.75-inch shells or 12+1 with 3-inch shells, and the manual tube selector located just behind the pistol grip lets you choose which tube feeds the chamber. That means you can stage different ammo types and switch between them instantly, something almost no other shotgun can do in this size class. It's a pump-action design with bottom loading and bottom ejection, which keeps spent shells away from your face and makes it fully ambidextrous, a big deal for left-handed shooters or awkward shooting positions. The controls feel utilitarian rather than refined, with a chunky crossbolt safety above the grip, a large ambidextrous pump release, and a short aggressive forend that keeps your support hand-locked in place during fast cycling. Unloaded weight sits around 6.9 pounds, which sounds light until you remember it's a 12-gauge bullpup with a lot of mass concentrated near your shoulder. And once fully loaded, it balances surprisingly well, despite the short overall profile. Recoil is honest, and sometimes downright brutal with full power, buckshot or slugs, mainly because the gun is so short and light and lacks any gas system to soften the impulse. So, this is not a shotgun you casually burn through boxes of shells with at the range. But that's never been its mission. The KSG is built for close-range defense where reliability, capacity, and maneuverability come first. And in that role, it absolutely delivers. The fixed-cylinder bore barrel throws wide, effective patterns up close, perfect for home defense distances, and the integrated top carry handle houses a simple but fast sighting system with a bright front post that works well in low light. There is also a long Picatinny rail running the length of the receiver, making it easy to mount a red dot or backup irons without sacrificing the compact handling. Build quality is distinctly Kel-Tec, meaning lots of polymer over a steel core, which keeps weight down but can feel less premium than traditional shotguns at this price point. The pump stroke is short, but requires deliberate action to avoid short stroking, especially under stress, and loading both tubes takes practice to do efficiently. On the upside, once you learn the manual of arms, the KSG becomes incredibly fast and intuitive, with firepower on tap that rivals shotguns far larger and heavier. Current street prices usually land between $700 and $800 depending on configuration, which feels fair considering the unique design and sheer capability packed into such a small footprint. It is not a beginner-friendly shotgun, and it is not gentle, but for experienced shooters who want maximum capacity in the smallest legal package possible, the Kel-Tec KSG remains one of the most distinctive and effective home defense shotguns ever put on the market. At the end of the day, choosing a home defense shotgun isn't about chasing the newest release or copying someone else's setup. It's about understanding what actually works for you when things are loud, dark, and happening fast. Every shotgun we've talked about brings a different strength to the table, whether that's raw capacity, ultra-compact handling, soft shooting reliability, or old-school simplicity. You can run on pure muscle memory. There's no perfect answer, only the tool that fits your space, your experience level, and the kind of confidence you want when it matters most. Train with it, learn its quirks, and set it up in a way that makes sense for your home, not for internet points. Because when you strip away the specs and the hype, what really counts is having something you trust completely. Something that feels like an extension of you when seconds matter. If this breakdown helped you think differently about defensive shotguns, make sure to let me know which one you'd pick and why. And as always, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next one.